Hello, this is Ellie Rashid and Hattie Winter from On Repeat the podcast, here to give you your weekly music chat fix.
Indeed we are, and this week we talk bossa nova, which is, I think, a genre we've never really discussed, so it's very exciting. And we are speaking to the very dreamy Nadine Assam, who is from Naia Sounds.
Yes, so Naia are basically a four-piece band based in South London, and having been hailed by Triple J as one of the most beautiful blends of jazz, funk and soul.
And whilst they maintain their roots in jazz, Naia continue to breathe a fresh air into the genre through their Latin fusion sound. Their live performances draw in crowds from the streets, captivate your soul, and will have you dancing into the night. I'm so excited to see them live when gigs are back.
With members hailing from every corner of the world, their unique sound carries influences from places such as the Middle East, South America and Portugal.
It was really lovely talking about how Nadine kind of writes abroad. It was such a nice sort of image to paint, I think, once we're all stuck inside.
Yeah, really wholesome, and I think we talk about authenticity quite a lot. And actually it's worth mentioning her virtual jam sessions, which are every Sunday. So I think as we can start to see a little bit of light towards the end of the tunnel as well with this pandemic situation, we discussed the possibility of returning to the roaring 20s and maybe a newfound thirst for live performances and iconic outfits. I really love Nadine's philosophy and outlook on life. Also, the way she kind of embraces life and doesn't take herself too seriously. She can always see the silly side of things, and she's got this real nice sense of happiness, which feels quite infectious. Well, it did during this interview.
I mean, what a terrible word to use in a pandemic, but it was very infectious. I mean, she's also left us with some lovely, infectious music because she's got some great listening recommendations. So definitely stay tuned for that.
And remember, you can keep up to date with Nadine and Naia Sounds via Instagram, which is at Naia_Sounds. Naia spelt Naia. I think we're ready for this podcast now.
Sit back and relax with On Repeat and Naia Sounds.
Well, Nadine, it's so lovely to have you on today. So you are speaking on behalf of your band. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your band and how it formed?
Yeah, so my name is Nadine, as was just said, and I am the singer / co-founder of a band called Naia. It's made up of me singing and Lumai on the bass and Charlie Jackson on guitar and Ryan on the drums. And we are kind of like we don't have a name for our genre. It's like Latin, jazz, soul, fusion, sometimes a little bit of rock, sometimes a little bit of everything else. It's kind of just an amalgamation. We tried to fit as many types of music into one song as we can.
That's what we like.
I love that. I love that challenge. It's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, we started, maybe 2 years ago. We all met at uni, and since then it's been awesome. It's been kind of awesome. COVID kind of ruined the awesome a little bit. But, releasing music and writing and just doing what we can. It feels good to kind of be making something out of nothing. It's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
I can imagine.
Did you all meet at Royal Holloway?
Yeah, so me and Lumai, the bassist, we're together. And we were talking one day, early in our relationship, because we're both musicians, and we were like, you know what? We really like the same music. Why don't we start a band? And we thought that we'd just kind of rehearse every week. And then we talked to the other boys, and we realised, this could actually... We started writing some music, and we went to Portugal and we wrote some music on the beach, and we were like, this is actually quite good. And then we just slowly started doing more gigs and got a chance to record and stuff like that, which is really great.
That's so lovely. It feels like you two, when I see you, at least on social media, you have great chemistry between you as performers, which I wonder if in bands can other people really get that kind of chemistry. I mean, maybe it is because you two are together and you co-write together, do you?
Yeah, so we write most of the music together. And weirdly, the way that we kind of like got together was during like a performance. Well, not during a performance,
really?
but like from a performance that we did together, because it was just like gets a bit cheesy at this point. But like
no, love the cheese. Carry on.
Because like okay, I'll tell you a little romantic story. So we were at my final like year jazz recital, and Lumai was playing bass. And at one point, I was about to do this like bossa song. And I turned and I don't know why, but I got so scared. I'd been doing like half an hour of this recital already. And suddenly just like a wave of nerves like took over. And I just turned to Lumai and I was like, ah. And he just like held my eye contact for like 20 minutes. Not 20 minutes, 20 seconds.
I was going to say.
That would be a really bad recital. No, 20 seconds. 20 seconds. And like, I totally calmed me down. I don't even know how. It was weird. And then after that, I was like, it's quite cool. Maybe I should talk to him a bit more.
That's such a sweet story. So he was playing in the big band, was he?
Yeah. So we were all playing. Our uni wasn't very good for jazz, but there wasn't many opportunities to like do gigs. But we had a really lovely big band and stuff. So we all kind of met through that.
Yeah, I think I know a few people who, obviously apart from you, who did sing in that big band, I think. And Nigel-esque people as well. Yeah, it's really sweet, because I remember speaking to you and you saying that you were getting into teaching as well, like starting your music career, thinking about starting a band, looking where to go. And yeah, it seems like you found what was kind of in front of you. Which is really, really sweet. And I really love that you lot do bossa nova. I think this is like one of the massive things. We've never interviewed any bands that do bossa nova.
Amazing.
Yeah. And when you write bossa nova stuff, do you tend to write in English?
So our first bossa song we actually wrote when we were in Portugal, and Lumai's family are Portuguese. So his dad and everybody, they speak fluent Portuguese, and it just felt like right to write the song in Portuguese because it was about Portugal, and bossa nova is originally in Portuguese, and so we wrote it in Portuguese asking his family for help, you know. And since then, I love singing in different languages, and I really love the idea of like staying true to the music's originality. So like I can't think of the right word, but
Authentic.
Yeah, authentic. Like give it like having that authenticity, and it's like respect to the origins of the music. And I love singing in different languages. It's really fun.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak Arabic and English fluently, and but I sing in Portuguese and Spanish as well. I can't sing in French. I wish I could. It's just too difficult.
When you were studying, did you study music?
Mm-hmm.
And did your teacher help you to kind of like guide you to sing bossa nova stuff and things in your certain languages?
Yeah, my teacher was beautiful. I've had two amazing jazz teachers in my life. I had Irene Serra. She's at uni. She is an Italian singer who lives in London, who is a jazz singer, and she's absolutely incredible. And she taught me how to sing in Italian and Brazilian Portuguese, and she actually taught me how to pronounce things properly, which I'd never been taught before. And before that, I had Linley Weir, who also encouraged me to like stay true to myself, and like she encouraged me to do Arabic singing as well, which I haven't done successfully yet, but I'm going to keep trying.
Kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier on about nerves with your very romantic story and your partner. Do you still get nervous now? I know it's probably been a while since you've performed live, but do you get nervous maybe even in like the songwriting part, and how do you get over that?
I used to get really nervous performing, and my cheeks used to shake. And I used to, this is when I was much younger. And I kind of conquered that through like doing mindfulness and closing my eyes. Honestly, works wonders. And now I actually feel really comfortable performing. And when I get on stage and actually start singing, I'm totally fine. But I also organize all of the gigs and all of the events that we do, just because I that's my role. So I organize all like the sorting out the gigs and sorting out the events and the invites and the setup of the night. And that's what I'm nervous about. That's the bit that is like, oh my God, is it going to go okay? So I kind of don't feel right until I get on stage and start singing. Then it's like, okay, everything's fine, just enjoy it. And then I can relax, you know?
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, that part of it is like it's so stressful, isn't it? And it's kind of like when you organise a party and you're like, what if no one comes?
Yeah,
like,
it feels exactly like that.
Yeah. Or you're like, what if I've actually just forgotten to, I always worry that I've actually just forgotten to tell people. I've like organised everything else. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I've got the food and I've got the drinks, but I'm like, oh crap, I haven't actually invited anyone.
I feel like that. I always like second guess if I've like put the right time. I'm like, oh my God, what if I've said that it's tomorrow?
I think facilitating those kind of events plus singing at them and maybe even having your own music.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Just relax.
I don't. When I get to the singing bit, is the best. It kind of makes it even more of a euphoric feeling, because you get to it and you're like, this is okay. Like, you can chill out. And that's the reason that you do it all, because I love singing so much and I love playing with the boys, and it's like the best feeling ever. So when you get to it, it kind of like heightens that feeling because of all the stress before. But,
you seem like somebody who is so kind of connected to their core, like in that way, because it goes without saying that if you know what it's like to play in a band or even be part of a team, it gives you this real sense of collectiveness. And I guess that's why people join football teams together or support football teams or join choirs. You know, it's a real great sense of togetherness, and being able to tap into that, I think you have to sort of be able to safely let a little bit of yourself go and be connected, you know. Do you find that your yoga and mindfulness and just your general you are into just sort of lovely things, aren't you? Like just calm. Like, do you think it helps you to sort of be very connected and be able to just throw yourself into your performance?
Yeah, I think so. I'm naturally like a really, I have way too much energy for like just sitting. And so I adopted all of these things like yoga and making macrame and like random arts and crafts, because I just have to be doing stuff with my hands. And like having that, like practicing that kind of like focus where you just turn your mind off and like focus on one thing. It helps that it helps you when you're doing things like music to just turn your mind off and like you don't distract. It's like a form of mindfulness. You just fully create, like you fully become present in what you're doing. So I think it definitely helps. I think it's different for every person. But I really think that it's important to remember when you're performing to just remember that you're performing, because it's really tough these days. Everything is like self-promotion, and everyone is thinking, and it's not a reflection on people. Like, it's not a bad thing, because it's just the way that life is now. You're constantly like, I should be filming this to put on Instagram or TikTok, or I have to be putting this on my story, or I have to be promoting myself in some way. And it's so tough. I definitely have gotten lost in that, trying to make it look perfect. But you have to remember, like, why am I even trying to get recognized somewhere? Why are you trying to put this stuff out there? It's because you love it. And you have to remember that the only way to like stay true to yourself is like to always do things through the love of what you do.
I totally agree with like the sort of meditative state of of things like macrame. I do a lot of like crochet knitting, and it is the same thing of like not looking at a screen for however long and not really having to think about anything else other than the thing in front of you. Is just it's like a bit of a privilege really to be able to have that.
Definitely.
Just being in the moment as well, like you said, with your performances. I think that's something that so many people can really learn from, especially when you say how it feels so competitive with everybody trying to make things perfect all the time. And we've been talking about it in relation to TikTok, which you also mentioned. Yeah. And just those kind of like purposefully low quality videos that clearly take a lot of time, that clearly people have been editing in like separate programs,
thinking about
for that TikTok aesthetic, you know, like a lot of perfection and it goes into things. And you're right, I like you see people filming everything, and I'm guilty of it as well.
Yeah, same. Filming I do
pointless stuff that I'm never going to look at on my phone.
I know.
Do you find when you're performing, do you ever see people just sort of using their phone mindlessly?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, now when I think about performing with like a crowd, I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So I can't really remember any of the bad things. But yeah, you definitely see the worst thing is when people are just looking at their phone, like down and like texting. When you're performing, you're like, what are you doing? Get off your phone. But yeah, phones are crazy. It's weird because TikTok is like, I only just got it the other day. I never...
oh my God, I'm obsessed.
I never looked at it. And I thought maybe this is a good idea for the band. So I made one, and it is so good for the fact that you can like partner with all these musicians and like create constantly and share all these amazing things that like there's like insanely amount of things that are on TikTok. There's like everything has a thing, and musicians can just create things with other people and compose, and it's awesome. But also it's like, whoa, there's too much. There's no like filter anymore. People are just putting everything online. Like it's just the whole process is like online now. The songwriting process, the making it, the release, the song itself. It's just everything is, you know. But yeah,
I think that's what I find a little bit intimidating by it. I'm actually, maybe surprisingly, I don't know, like one of the last people in my sort of group of friends to jump on board with all of these things. Like I was quite late to the game with Instagram. I still haven't got Twitter. I don't have TikTok just because it does feel like information overload to me. And like I mean, when you're in it, it's easier to navigate your way, I think. When you're actually in it, like you say, you downloaded it and you can see what's good about it. You can see how the processes work. But definitely as someone like kind of looking at all of it and seeing a lot of my pupils on it, I'm just like, wow, so much of it. And the music industry already kind of feels like that. But, you know, never say never. Like, I'm not anti any of that stuff. I think it's so interesting, especially how it's sort of dictated what popular music is and how, like, it's dictating how songwriting is starting to look. I find it fascinating.
I was going to say, how old are the children, or the young people that you teach? I'd say teenagers.
I teach secondary school kids, so like
11
to 18. 11 to 18.
What do they listen to? Do you get influenced by them? Is there anything you're like, okay, you need to stop listening to music on your phone, but you need to also tell me who that is?
I've tried. Like, I make a point to try to find out who everybody listens to, because I feel like it tells me a little bit about who they are. And I'm like to my little year 7s, I'm like, who are you guys listening to? They're like, I like TikTok music. And I'm like, what is TikTok music? And also a really funny thing that I'm only 23. I feel like I'm young.
Yes, yeah.
and I asked one of my year 7s the other day, I was like, what do you listen to? And she's like, oh, I like really old music. And I was like, oh, cool. What do you like? She's like, you know, like I like pop music from like 2014. I was like, oh my God.
Once me and my boyfriend were driving in the car, and we were like, just like the chart, like the number one, the top 40 was on, and every song we were like, I don't know who this is. Everyone's got punctuation in their name, or there's no consonant, there's no vowels. Like, I was like, I thought I was quite with it with like young music, but I was like, I have no idea any of this. I feel so old. This is so that's terrible.
But back to your kind of like authentic self and your gigs. Thinking about, obviously we can't really gig at the moment. I don't know if you've put on any gigs because you're kind of close to your band at the moment. But if you were to have your kind of dream gig, and I know that there's a lot of dreamy videos of you in your band, but would you kind of want it to be a meditative like space where there were no phones and it was just very in the moment?
One of my actual favorite moments ever was our we had like an EP launch last year at Mau Mau Bar in Notting Hill. It's closed down now, sadly. It was a beautiful venue, and it was where Jazz Refresh did all of their like jazz jams and stuff. They were so cool.
What's it called, sorry?
It was called Mau Mau Bar. It was so cool. And sadly it's gone. But we had our EP launch, and everybody was dancing, and like we had like a massive jam, and people were coming on stage with instruments and joining in with our songs and songs that I've written. And everybody knew the words to our single, like random people. And it felt like one of those like dreamy moments where you're just like, oh my God, what is happening? And I remember smiling so much that my face was hurting me, and I was like, I don't think I can stop smiling now.
That's amazing.
But yeah, that was definitely a dream moment. So I guess a dream gig would just be something like that, where everybody's just happy and dancing and singing and with each other and able to hug, and musicians coming on stage and playing with us, and maybe you're on a beach, if I can just add it, if it's a dream,
Yeah.
Maybe just
why not?
add in
There's
no
obstacles to this dream, to this fantasy. So
okay.
Everyone is vaccinated, it's fine.
Have the waves in the background, that's my dream. But yeah, we've been okay. We've been running these like every week. We have like a Sunday sessions. We've been doing like gigs. Me and Luma have been hosting them, and then the other boys from where they are, and we get like guest musicians to come and like go live with us. Obviously it's not the same, but it's quite nice because you get to play to people, and it kind of feels like you're connecting and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like it feels like you're being a musician, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's just a modern way of performing.
Yeah,
there isn't. We can't do anything else. So
exactly,
really making the best of a bad situation. And I've seen you've got loads of like different artists and people coming in every week.
Yeah.
Do you have any like highlights of doing that?
I had my little sister. She is also like a singer-songwriter, and she came and was a guest star like a couple of weeks ago, and that was lovely because it was nice. She's my favorite person to like. Not that we could harmonize because it was live, but she's my favorite person to sing with. And like it was just lovely to have her.
Have there been any challenges to doing it online?
Yeah, definitely. It's horrible when you finish a song and like nothing happens, and you kind of just have to be like, haha, that was fun. You don't hear like any like applause. You don't see anyone smiling or anything like that. Which is obviously it's weird. It's kind of like when you teach online. I don't know if either of you teach online. And I have to teach like whole classes at school. And I'm like, does anybody understand? And it's just like tumbleweed. So it's a bit like that. But it's better than nothing. So you have to keep remembering it's better than nothing.
It's interesting that point about challenges as well when it comes to doing things online, because as an artist, as a music artist, and also as a teacher, which you are, the line between artist and entertainer becomes really blurred with all of this online stuff.
Yeah.
How can we differentiate between like doing something that is completely the same as what's on TV on like Milkshake or CBBC? Like if we're just being like, hello everyone, today we're going to make a sandcastle, I don't know. And you need to try and you're right, not having the audience there not having people there to kind of react to what you're doing is really, really tough. So you found it with teaching and performing, have you? And how have you found any ways to kind of make it interactive or try and connect with your audiences more?
Definitely what you were saying about being an entertainer, it totally feels like that. I am not naturally a very good speaker. Not on gigs. I never liked it. I would always just turn to Luma and be like, hey, take the mic and say something funny, because I would just come out with some stupid, like, honestly, stupid jokes. I just kind of freeze and I'm like, okay, what kind of dad jokes can I think of to make the audience laugh? And then the boys look at me like, what are you doing? Stop talking. So like, pre-COVID, I prefer to sing. So you kind of have to like make yourself into like an entertainer, and you have to try to see it as not being an entertainer, because you have to make space for them to reply. Like, thankfully they can comment and reply. So what we've found is making space, like saying, what is there any requests and how is everybody doing? And it's so important at the moment to check on people, and some people might not have a chance all day to tell someone how they're feeling, or even to talk to somebody else. So it's kind of good to like have that space where you're like inviting people, like say, how are you doing? And like reply and like talk. And this is a safe space for you guys to speak and enjoy some music and request some if you want, because we like requests.
That's brilliant that you're creating that space as well, because I think it's something that seems so obvious. I'm in a few vocal group and composing group stuff at the moment over Zoom.
That's really
and
good.
It's one of those things where everyone's checking in with each other, and in my head I'm like, oh, I don't need to join this bit because I don't need that bit. But actually when you do it, you realize how important it is, because all of these mood swings that we've all been feeling, all of the roller coasters, we're all experiencing it, and it's so normal. And just to check in with each other, like you said, is so important. So I think it's great that you're facilitating such a lovely space with music for that. That's like a real, like, that's really like warmed my heart.
Yeah,
I really love that.
We'll post about it. And they're happening every Sunday, right?
Yeah, every Sunday. We've been doing it since New Year's Day. I just kind of woke up slightly hungover, like, I kind of want to sing. So we just like, we're like, oh, we're going to go live tonight. See you there. And then we're like, oh, that was fun. Let's do it every week. We're writing so much at the moment. So we kind of use these gigs as like a, hey, does anybody like this song? And testing them out to like just the people that are there, which has been really lovely. And it's been really nice to have the other boys who are hosting them on their own, like from week to week. So Charlie, our guitarist, he hosted it, and he just did this beautiful like guitar gig where he looped and he did some solos, and he did some of our originals and then did some other stuff, and it was insanely amazing. And then we had our drummer who actually just played piano and did like a jazz jam with some of his friends, and it's just so nice to like see get like a little personal bit of each person that's not like connected to the band but still is, if that makes sense. It's like everybody giving a little bit of themselves.
Yeah, I think actually that's a good point, that it's kind of like a unofficial feedback session, which I guess you have all missed out on in real life. Because I was thinking about what you were saying with jokes, and I was like, it's kind of like how comedians do like a kind of, I can't think what it's called when they do like their kind of test stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, does this land? Does this not land? And you must miss out on writing songs being like, does this song work? Do people dance? Do people react how we want? So it must be quite nice to have that and to get like real life feedback quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about like the kind of almost obligation as a singer to try and entertain.
Oh God,
when it's a completely different skill.
I know.
You're just there like, oh my goodness. Like, I think we were talking to Harrison about this in our talk show episode, and I think he's one of those performers who just kind of like doesn't like to sort of introduce the next song, but just sort of goes on and does his thing. He really has his ways, and he's a really, really great great showman, I guess. But it's so different for jazz, isn't it? Like it's or like something of jazz origins, or like you know, bossa nova, when I think it's quite common. I see more singers kind of turn to other band members to front it, which I think is quite refreshing.
Yeah, I definitely do.
In a weird way. Yeah. And it means that you can kind of like retain your, like, some of your artistry as well, because a lot of the things that you're singing about, or the way that you're singing, can be quite kind of cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you start like, hey everyone, like, it kind of breaks that, doesn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not like a very good example of being cool, I have to say. But I am queen of
TikTok
like
now.
Oh God, still don't know how to use it. Yeah, definitely. I just turn to somebody else. I'm not like scared of it. I'm not very good at it. And as a singer, you're kind of like, you're right. You're expected to. And if there's like someone, a front person of the band, who is kind of like not personable and doesn't say anything and just stands there, then people come away from the gig and they're like, what was that about? It was good, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't very.
But it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to. True. You just have to learn how to do it. Which is crazy. Yeah.
Just drawing back to what we were talking about with your kind of, I guess, your jazz music, singing, education side of it. How important do you think it is to really get to know the jazz songbook before kind of doing anything, maybe even remotely popular music based? But I'm thinking, because you do the sort of fusion of all things jazz, sort of you've got neo soul, bossa nova, jazz, all those things. How important was it for you to kind of know a lot of the songbook, and how important would you say it is for other people to learn it? I
definitely think it's so important to learn as much, not just the jazz songbook, but like as much music as you can. I was like I learned quite a lot of jazz standards, and I was like taught to like analyze them and go into like the harmony, and that's what I kind of like, that's how I learned. But I also learned through like, the reason that I feel comfortable singing Latin and Spanish traditional songs and like bossa nova traditional songs is that I listened to that kind of music from when I was a kid, and like Cuban music and old Spanish songs like Lágrimas Negras and stuff, and that's how it got ingrained into me. And studying the origins of what you want to create is kind of it's just like respectful. I would love to create like salsa jazz and like Latin jazz, and so I have to know where it came from and like actually study what they're singing about. And so I like read a lot about Cuban like resistance music and bossa nova and things like that, and fado in Portuguese, and everybody in the band has also done everyone has their like little world of study. Like Luma is like insanely he knows like almost every song, and the jazz book, and like lots of classical music as well, and neo soul. And Charlie is just like a guitar god and knows everything. Also the whole jazz songbook, and Ryan is the same with both piano and drums. And it is really important to study where your music comes from, because like obviously everything, like study as much as you can. I mean, I am a teacher, but honestly, try to learn as much music as you can, because it doesn't mean that you will end up making that music. It just means that you know where that music came from, and you can like incorporate. If you have more information in your brain, you can incorporate it into your own writing and your own performance. And it's really important, and also just really fun. So I just totally recommend it to everybody.
A very good teacher message of the fun of learning. And I was going to say, it's that element of like, if you don't know where your music's been, or like if you don't know where something's come from, you don't really know where you're going.
Yeah.
Did you have a very musical family? Because it's quite, I wouldn't say that the sort of listening to like Cuban music is like particularly like, I don't know, mainstream. It's mainstream in some ways, but it's not like, oh, it's on the radio on BBC One.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And your sister's a singer-songwriter, you said.
Yeah. So yeah, I have quite a musical family. My mom plays piano and she loves music, and my dad also the same. And I have my family is like mostly girls, and I have about 100 cousins, and everybody has their own. Like when I was like 10, my cousins were taking me to gigs everywhere, and that happened like throughout my childhood. And that music was always so cool to everybody, and everyone was playing something different, and there was like family playlists, and it was never. I always like I listened to like the mainstream stuff, but also like I used to listen to Buena Vista Social Club and Arabic music, and also like Italian music, and like it's just a whole range of different music, you know.
I'm glad that you say that you listen to lots of different things, and that you think it's important to, like you say, know where your music comes from, because I was just very interested really to know what your response would be to the jazz question, because obviously we met at Nijo, where it was very much like you said, getting to know all of the jazz standards, getting to know how every song worked, what the chord progressions were, you know, and if you get really, really into that and you get to know all of them, you really know that genre, don't you? You really know where the 2/7/5 ones are coming, and you know, and I think that is great. But I wonder, do you think that sometimes it can restrict you if you say you're not opening yourself up to so many different things, because it can become really kind of rigid, hence why you see so many people specializing in that type of music? Do you find that it can be a little bit of a kind of a whirlwind that you can get lost in, and if you're not careful? Did you ever feel like that when you were specializing in it?
Yeah, when I was at uni, I definitely felt like that. And I, because I was studying it so much, I didn't know how to make it my own. Just because, like, even though it's jazz and you're supposed to improvise, you don't really know how. And it was only when I started, like, combining the things that I learned from jazz, like improvising and scatting, because that was what I learned how to do. When I started scatting over songs that I actually really loved listening to, like the Cuban music and the Spanish music and neo soul, that was when I was like, that's why I learned how to do jazz, because then I can do that.
Yes, exactly.
And then it kind of clicked. And once you realize how important it is, and also I know quite a lot of classical music, so it's just, I don't know, I don't think anybody should ever, I mean, unless you really want to, but I don't think anybody should restrict themselves totally to one genre. And you shouldn't say like, I'm not doing that standard right and it's wrong, because it's not wrong. It's just different to what it's been done for the last 70 years. You just kind of have to explore all the different things that you create, you know?
Yeah. And it's a really hard line to kind of tread, isn't it? To be as unique as you can and use your own voice and your own instrument, you know, but also kind of know where it's coming from, like you said. So jazz, it felt like jazz was the kind of foundation for your interest in other things, and that really helped you to cultivate those interests. What do you think really drew you to Cuban music?
I have absolutely no idea. Ever since I was little, like Gypsy Kings is what I listened to when I was like 7, and all these, so many Spanish artists and bands that incorporated like Spanish things into their music. Like there's a band called Cat Empire from Australia, and they're like massive like jazz, Latin, soul kind of band. And I loved their music, and I don't know why. I have no idea why. I think my family also love it. Maybe I was Latin in my last life. I don't know. But it's just it's definitely something that both me and all the boys like. That's kind of what we loved. Also, we loved the neo soul Latin side of everything, which is why our music doesn't really. It's quite hard to. It's not jazz. It's not just jazz. And some people have like submitted our music to things and been like, this really isn't like standard jazz. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's not. But all of our origins were in jazz, which is kind of why you call. And we've got improvisation and we use jazz chords, but it's not jazz in the strictest sense. I don't really like kind of like classifying it as one genre, because if you classify it as one genre, then like people can say if they don't like it or not. They can just be like, oh, it's jazz. I don't like jazz. And it's like, well, you don't know. You don't know what it is. It's a combination of everything that we've learned in our lives, and that's kind of what the music is. Yeah,
and there's such a sort of novelty element of jazz as well, especially when you tell people, like anyone, oh yeah, I do jazz, and you're trying to say it to sort of simplify it because you don't want to sort of go into too much detail to sound too sort of complicated. But then when people think it's jazz, they're like, oh, like jazz. And you're like, no, nah. I know how you feel. Do you think you could ever see yourself doing any flamenco performances? I'm just thinking because of the fusion of like Spanish, but also they've got the Arabic kind of undertones, and it's so raw and emotional, and then you've got the dancing in the background and it's so intimate, and everyone, like, you're not allowed your phones in those concerts. Have either of you been to a flamenco dance?
I have. It's insane.
I went to one in Madrid, right, like 2 years ago, and I honestly, my mind was blown. Like I think it was the oldest flamenco place in Madrid. I went to another one in Seville, but this place was, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. When we can all travel, if you want to come to Spain,
road trip,
and you're going to go to Madrid, right? And you're going to go to this place. I can't remember the name, but it's like Casa something. I'll like.
That would be amazing.
I will tell you what it is when I can remember it. But honestly, the performance, like there were like two musicians, maybe 3 musicians on the stage with the dancers.
Wow.
And the lines were kind of Arabic, but then you could hear like all the fusions in there. Is exactly what you're talking about, and nobody was allowed a phone, no flash, no videoing, no phones off. You know, everyone was just like this.
Yeah,
and it was just
maybe that's going to be the rest of the 20s. Maybe.
Maybe.
You know, I think I was watching Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and it's obviously like a sort of 20s, based in the 20s, and it's like. Now, and obviously, so it's like post-war, and they just had a pandemic, and I was like, I now get why everyone was like so dressed up in the 20s. So maybe like we're all going to be wearing suits and we're listening to like jazz, because there's so much jazz fusion coming out, especially like in London, but it's been bubbling away for a couple of years. Maybe we're just going to have an explosion of like huge parties, everyone dressed up to the nines, no phones, because we've also all been at home on TikTok for the last 2 years. So it's going to be like, that's it. Parties. Parties.
Oh,
dancing.
how awesome would that
be? Amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be the dream.
Yeah.
Everyone's just beaming right now on the podcast. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like, throw away your iPhones. That'd be so good.
Maybe that is the future.
I think so.
It's repeating itself.
I think, definitely. I also think that, so my company is Native Instruments, so we do a lot of like hardware and software for music. And it's been like a pretty good year. People got a lot more downtime. So people are like, I want to learn how to play things. But I think when we can finally go out, all the kind of like consumer goods are going to disappear, because it's going to be about experiences. People are going to want to go on holiday. People are going to go to nightclubs, venues, gigs, restaurants. I think like kind of, I don't know, like that kind of culture.
I hope so.
Explode. I think, definitely.
I think so. Oh, it's made me really hopeful.
Yeah. I think that your music would fit in so well with that as well, because I imagine, you know, those like really sort of intimate kind of, there's a few of them that do sort of like almost bedroom gigs. Yeah. Or like, you know, like you're saying on a beach or something like that, where everyone's just kind of in the open air. Like, I can see you doing that so well. Oh, you'll have to get on that, Nadine.
Yeah. I know.
Like, it's new-20s.
It's interesting that you say about the flamenco, because our next single, which is coming out in about a month, about a month, March, has got our very talented friend playing flamenco guitar on it.
Ooh, an exclusive scoop.
I know. And yeah, we've got a guest musician featuring our friend called Adam Wallace. He's amazing flamenco guitarist, and he is playing on our song, which is it's got that flamenco twist, which is going to be awesome.
So excited to hear that. mentioned that you're doing loads of songwriting at the moment, and I wondered, what does your songwriting sessions, what do they look like? How do you kind of write together as a band or as a duo? Obviously, we can talk about pre-COVID, when maybe you could all be together in a studio, or you can talk about post-COVID, when it's obviously a bit more, what's the word? Separate.
Yeah. So, so usually at the moment, I mean, in this COVID kind of life, Lumai, me and Lumai, we tend to write. We're writing a lot of songs at the moment for the band, and our ideas we've made like a little makeshift studio in one of the spare rooms in my house, and we just kind of jam for a little bit, and we start off with either like a mood, or we just wrote a song where we just literally, we were being so silly. We were like, we just want to have fun. We're like, just to start with a drum beat, and then like singing some random like silly bass line, and then we're like, oh, hold on, that sounds okay. And then you just kind of carry on like that. And we make a point to record literally everything that we do.
Oh wow.
In like a session. We never like delete anything, because, and we've got, it's quite annoying when we've got like hundreds of ideas, but they always end up being something, and you have to work hard to like make an idea into something, because you could come up with 4 bars of like this amazing kind of hook and then be like, where do I go? And then it's where the hard work comes, and you have to, we're trying to, we listen to as much music as we can, and with every song that we write, we make like a playlist on Spotify of reference tracks where we got our ideas from and things that we've got inspired by. And at the moment we're listening to a lot of D'Angelo, so we're writing songs with like hundreds of harmonies and stuff. And the boys are also writing. So what we do usually is we'll write a couple of songs, and then we'll have, at the moment we have like we'll have a Zoom session with the boys, and we'll share our screen, and we'll all come up with ideas together. And pre-COVID, we would take our ideas to rehearsal. We'd just have maybe like, I don't know, a verse or maybe a chorus without any words. And usually I don't have any words. And the words come out like a week before we record. Like, I just need to put words for this chorus because I don't know what to do. But yeah, and then we kind of just develop it as a band. And the best songs that we've created have been like during a rehearsal and be like, we have to add that and do this. But at the moment, I find it much easier to write the music than I do the words, because I find it really, personally, I find it quite difficult to write lyrics that sound meaningful. I hate writing songs that don't have a meaning. But that doesn't mean that they have to all be so deep. I don't like the idea of each song being, I know it's kind of controversial, but obviously there are songs that are about like love and deep emotions. Yeah. But for every single song that you write to be like that, it's exhausting. Sometimes you need a song that's just about like real life, or just about a story about some random person that's not you, because it's funner. It's like a detachment away from the deep, like putting my soul on a plate kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. One of our songs that we've just written is called Dizzy. It's not out yet, but it's coming. It's going to come out soon, later this year. And I just made up the words on the spot just to make them fit. Like, we were recording, I was like, yeah, I like this melody, but I'm just making up these things. And it's about someone making somebody feel dizzy, but I don't feel dizzy, so it's just about like some random person. I don't know. So yeah, that's a bit like that. So when you hear that song eventually, just know it's about a random person that I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I think that's great. I also think that like not everything has to be like so deep. We were talking to Harrison, and he was like, it's kind of like tattoos, and people are like, what does your tattoo mean? And he's like, nothing. I liked it. Thought it'd be cool. Wanted it in my arm. And if not, because I imagine it just gets a bit like you said, like exhausting.
So exhausting.
Keep giving away so much of yourself, and then it's like, what have you got left?
Exactly. There are only so many like deep topics that you can like delve into, and obviously it's really important to do that. But and it's really cathartic when you do. But I don't like the idea of everything being like so deep. I like the idea of telling stories, like the old-fashioned way of writing music, when they used to write ballads and like folk songs that are just about like a tree growing.
Very narrative, like somebody goes to the shop and they fall over a puddle and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like lighthearted.
Keeping it like lighthearted, like a breath of fresh air in the midst of like all the deepness that music brings.
Yes. I was also thinking about Adele, because like Adele always comes up with like 19, 21, 25, and they're always about like breakups and stuff, and everyone's like, well, what's going to happen when she's happily married?
Yeah.
And like everything's fine. It's like, you've got nothing left.
I know, you can still create amazing music without it being like some heartbreak that like has broken your mind and stuff.
Literally. And I think most people would say it's more difficult to write a quote unquote happy song, one that's like it maybe perhaps in a major key, something that's uplifting, because people are so scared about it being cheesy.
Definitely. Yeah. I always end up putting like the words dream and like skies and stuff when I'm writing something about happy, and the boys are like, it sounds a bit like a nursery rhyme. So I have to like tone it down. And my sister's an amazing lyricist, so I'm just like, hello, can you help me? But yeah, definitely. It's weird. Like, I'm trying to think of like what all of our songs mean now. And the first Bossa Nova song is all about how we love Portugal and we didn't want to leave, so we were just writing a song about that. And Freedom, our first single, was about where I'm from in Palestine, and that was deeper, even though it's a very happy song, but the lyrics would mean deeper things. And I can't even think about the others. Heatwave. That's an example of one that I didn't write the lyrics. Luma did, but there was not really a deeper meaning behind that one. It was more fun. It was fun, funkiness. But yeah.
Again, I think there'll be a trend towards like uplifting songs that are like.
Yeah.
I think people will stop seeing the cheese and just be like, do you know what? We just want to smile and have fun. And we don't want to think about like our boyfriend that broke up with us. We want to think about like good times with good people, dancing.
Just want to dance. I just want to dance.
Yeah, but it's cathartic, isn't it? We want to have catharsis after this is all over. So,
but definitely. I think like Hattie, with what you're saying, I think it's so true. But even like relating back to the sort of the whole conversation that we've had about having things that are in the moment, maybe that's what it will be, like something that's authentic and in the moment, that is perhaps, like Hattie was saying, just more uplifting, because arguably we already have it with like TikTok, which you've also spoken about. TikTok songs that we have, a lot of them are like things that we can dance to. They're designed to dance to them, so they are uplifting in their own way, but I guess they're so premeditated and thought out that they don't have that in the moment feel. So that's something that perhaps only live music can offer. So, I think you got some work to do, lady. Once we're out of this, we're all going to need you.
I hope so. Definitely. I hope so. I'm going to try and play as many gigs.
So I'm so excited. I think it's one of the things that I'm like most looking forward to. It's like seeing live music. I'm never ever going to turn down an invite ever again.
Same. Never ever saying no. Never.
Yeah. I'm never going to be tired. I'm never going to wash my hair.
Nope.
That's it.
That's it.
Hey, I was going to say, what does your band name mean, or where did it come from?
I was waiting for this question. Okay, so again, get to the like silliness of who I am. So when we came up with the band, I was when we were like forming the band, I was just like, what do we name it? And I wanted something unique and not like our names, and I wanted something that just like was easy to say and something that was like catchy and was also meaningful to me, but I couldn't really come up with anything. So I was like thinking of literally just thinking of like words that sounded nice. And I was just like, I was in Palestine with my family, my sisters, and I was just like, Flaya, Kaya, Naia, Naia? And then I was like, ooh, that sounds cool. And then I sent a voice note to the boys like, what about Naia? And they're like, oh yeah, it's nice. So we kind of were like, okay, that's our name. And then we looked up what it meant, and it's like to flow in Hawaiian. So it kind of it's quite nice. A nice meaning without knowing that it was a nice meaning. And it also kind of sounds like a combination of me and Lumai's names. which was
That's
also,
what I wondered.
Yeah.
I was like,
also,
like the Nadine.
Yeah, total accident. Didn't mean that, but it just kind of like became that. But yeah, that's the story of our name. I wish it was something a little bit more interesting, but really
It's
just
unique.
yeah.
I can
I
just
really
imagine
like
you
it.
on the beach being like, Maya, Naya,
Yeah.
Naya.
Lula, Tula.
I think we've all been there as well, slightly, with band names like Thai,
Yeah.
Sky, Why.
What do you think is the biggest learning curve that you've experienced as a band or working together? You've probably been in groups before. Obviously, like Nijo is also quite like collaborative based, but it's like, I guess, your own band, your own baby.
Yeah.
What have you
Learning, I don't know. I guess it would be learning, not that we have a problem with this, but I'm thinking more like in like the songwriting terms and like performance and recording, making like room for every person in the band to shine. And like not just shine as in like giving them a solo or giving each band member the space to like make it their own and bring themselves to the band. It's not been a learning curve. Like we've been quite like rigid with it. We stick with that because we don't like write music and give out sheet music and say play this. Because that's not like authentic at all. But yeah, that's definitely really important when you play, especially in like an originals kind of thing where you want everybody to be themselves and to have fun and feel like they love what they're doing. And I feel like the only way that you can do that is if you're being yourself.
Yeah, it's very egalitarian, which I think is like a thread throughout it, quite like egalitarian.
And our final question is, who do you have on repeat at the moment?
Who do I have on repeat at the moment? Oh, I know. If you've ever heard of a singer, she's from Cape Verde, but she lives in Lisbon. She's called Meira Andrade. She is amazing. She's done like she's quite famous in like the Latin world and also kind of like jazz fusion-y. She's got an amazing song called Manga. Her music is, I literally play it when my kids aren't in the classroom. I'm like, I need to feel happy, so I'm gonna play this music. So yeah, that's definitely who's on my repeat at the moment.
Nadine, thank you for being such a dreamy, calm pleasure of a guest to speak to. It's been lovely.
Yeah, you've been amazing.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been so nice to just talk about music.
It's been such a lovely like midday treat, I think.
You guys have given me a lot of hope for their future. I feel like I'm gonna walk out of this like, life is getting better.
Yeah. Bye. See you next week. Lovely to have you.
Thanks, Nadine.
Bye. See you next week. Oh wait, no, I'm not going next week. Okay, just bye.
Oh, bless her. We wouldn't actually mind having her for another week, for next week.
Anytime, Nadine. Please come back.
What a lovely note to end on. Exactly what we need right now. A bit of hope for the future. The roaring 20s roll on. Thank you, everyone. Take care. See you next week.